Thank you, Stuart, very, very much. We've got a lot of jaws dropping in the military community on word right now that Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, the former hostage who pleaded guilty to desertion, will be avoiding prison. A judge ruling that may be more appropriate will be a dishonorable discharge, which means that Bergdahl will not be receiving any military benefits, anything that accompanies those who have an honorable discharge, obviously, from the military. A military judge finding that Bo had indeed deserted, and of course, Bergdahl never denied that. The defense had argued on his behalf that he was suffering from mental anguish when he abandoned his post. Many were injured, some even killed in the rescue efforts for him. That is not going well with the families of those officers involved with that. You might remember this bedeviled two different administrations, beginning back in 2014 with President Barack Obama, who waded into a great deal of controversy, swapping 5 Taliban, what they called terrorists at the time, but Taliban lieutenants, as they were known at the time, for Bergdahl's release. Again, Bo Bergdahl, the former hostage who pleaded guilty to desertion, will not be going to prison. Connell McShane has much more on this and the implications of this. Connell.
Well, jaws dropping indeed, Neil, to your point there. This military judge finding that Bo Bergdahl should be serving no prison time at all for endangering his comrades when he walked off that post in Afghanistan. Now, the judge did give him a dishonorable discharge, but again, no prison time. He reduced his rank to private and all this kind of thing they go through in military court. It says he must forfeit pay that works out. It's like $1,000 a month for 10 months. And, you know, it was a guilty plea here. Guilty plea to desertion and misbehavior before the enemy. He could have went to prison for life. He faced up to life in prison as a possibility. But, you know, the thing is, there was just a lot of leeway for this judge. There was no deal with the prosecutors to limit the sentence. It was really just up to the judge. The prosecutors were looking for stiff punishment for obvious reasons, some of which you already outlined. You had the service members searching for him that were wounded back in 2009 after he disappeared. So that certainly came up, and you know, a lot of people have been watching this case quite closely, thought that would lead to more prison time, but you know, not the case. He was held captive for 5 years. The search went on, then the guilty plea once he came back to desertion. Now, on the defense side, in following this, they were looking to counter with the testimony about his suffering for the 5 years of the Taliban, on and on, his contributions to the military when he was in there, and all this kind of thing. But and at the end, I guess that won out. There was no prison time for Bo Bergdahl. Quite a headline, Neil.
Yeah, one of the things I remember that those who argued on his defense had said about not wanting to see him thrown in prison was that he was a POW in a Taliban camp and beaten up. Of course, that went back and forth, that he put himself in that position. But others had argued as well that President Trump inserted himself in this by referring to him as a dirty, rotten traitor, and that he should be meted out the most severe punishment of all, and that might have influenced, whatever treatment he would receive or what verdict would be handed down. Bottom line here is that was not apparently a case here. Certainly, if it would have influenced the judge here, the military judge, it did not have any such bearing.
No, I think the largest thing that stands out is the other soldiers over in Afghanistan that spent so much time searching for this guy, and some of them were wounded in the search, and to put them in danger, and then to come back and to plead guilty to desertion. I think that's why there were a lot of people watching this and thinking there would be more than just a dishonorable discharge because of his comrades who he deserted being put in such danger and searching for him. But not the case. Now
this isn't over from what I understand, Connell. I guess the next step is that General Robert Abrams, who convened a court-martial as commander of the Army Forces Command, I should say, he reviews this sentence, but he cannot increase the punishment. If anything, he can keep it the way it is or decrease it. I don't know how you decrease, a discharge, a dishonorable discharge, but it doesn't look like it would be changed dramatically one way or the other.
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, it's tough to say that you're going to go back and give him the honorable discharge after all this. This seems to be probably the most lenient sentencing we could imagine, given this case, one that's gotten so much attention over the years. And your point earlier is well taken too. I mean, for so long we didn't know exactly what happened here, and you start to think you look or hope for the best in situations like this, and you hope that, someone hasn't done what this soldier has now admitted to have done, which is desert his own comrades. But now he pleaded guilty to that. So you would think that would be something that would put you in jail for some time, but it's just not the case at all.
All right, Connell, thank you very, very much. This is a unique event to Connell's point here because it is the only service member, U.S. service member, who was captured in Afghanistan and held as a prisoner of war, a prisoner of the Taliban for the better part of 5 years. And it was that time in captivity with the Taliban that apparently the judge ruled was punishment enough, that he wasn't going to throw him into another cell after being in that cell.